Oh, sure. Thank you for having me, first and foremost. My name is James Epperson. My wife and I will be celebrating 27 years of marriage next month. We do live in the city limits, and together we have 4 children. 2 children graduated from other school systems, but my younger daughter graduated from Pell City High School and is currently a senior at Jacksonville. And my son is entering his junior year this upcoming year. So he's very active in school and athletics. In all transparency, my wife is a substitute teacher for Pell City School Systems, and she's an absolute rock star. As far as myself, I have been a registered nurse for 25 years. For the last 18 years, I have been in some form of nursing leadership, and for the last 8 years, I have been a chief nursing officer at one of our Birmingham hospitals.
Thank you. Please describe the role of a local school board member as you understand it, and why are you the best person to fill this position?
Yes, ma'am. So, a board does many administrative functions. They, provide oversight of and approval of curriculum, policies. They provide oversight of hiring chief financial officer, superintendent. One of the things, though, that I think is probably an area that I would like to focus on, if selected, is the advocacy role of the board. And who do we advocate for? That's so many people. First and foremost, we have to advocate for the students. We need to find out what barriers they have to learning, their access to athletics and extracurricular activities. Then we have to advocate for the teachers and be a voice for them. Do they have the tools and equipment to do their job? Do they have work-life balance? We have to advocate for the community and be a conduit for their concerns. And then lastly, we have to be an advocate for the administrative team. Not every decision administration makes is warmly embraced by all, but we have to be able to effectively communicate those decisions and garner support for that. The second part, you asked, why am I the best candidate? You've had some great people up here, so I don't envy the position that you're in. I would say, though, that I do think I'm a qualified candidate. I think my work experience is in policies and budgeting has, aligned me for this. On a personal note, I would say that something about me and my family is, a couple of years ago, we discovered that, to our surprise, there were various opinions of our school system on social media. And so we decided to educate ourselves. We started to attend school board meetings, and out of curiosity, and we really wanted to discern the truth, knowing that sometimes it lies in the middle. And from that, last couple of years, I've actively spoken at a couple of the board meetings, been on the agenda. We've spoken about mental health issues, which seems to be a common theme. The perceived high rate of expulsions, food and nutrition, and we've met with many of the administrative team and principals and, formed a relationship, if not an agreement, of mutual respect, and they've been very open to communication and followed through with their statements and really helped us understand our questions. So I would say that's why I'm a good candidate, and from my involvement, I hope that we've made a difference, and that this would just be a positive step in continuing that journey.
Thank you. What are the most significant issues our school district is currently facing, and how will you propose the district address these challenges?
Sure. Well, first, I think we're in a unique position with the city alignment, the appointed board, Dr. Burns as a new superintendent. So I think that's a great opportunity to set the vision. I think some of the challenges, if you look at the data, not just as a school system, but for each individual school, there are gaps in achievement. And I think we need to learn, dive into that a little bit further and find out what's driving that. And then look at other schools. If they're successful in science or math proficiency, what are they doing well, and how can we carry that forward to the other schools? I think another gap is teacher recruitment and retention. you know, salary is always important, bonus opportunities, things of that nature. But I'm a firm believer that while you have to be competitive in salary and competitive in the market, that's what will bring the talent. But I'm a firm believer that culture is what will keep your teachers there. And I think that we need to encourage our cultural growth within our teachers, find out again about their work-life balance, their tools and equipment, you know, find out from them who are the frontline experts on what we need to do to improve these academic gaps. And then, you know, finally, I would say funding is an issue, but, you know, in healthcare, funding is always a challenge. Nobody's ever just given me carte blanche money, told me to do what I wanted with it. So we have to be good stewards of our resources, and we have to make sure that the decisions that we make apply to the broadest body of students that we can, that we're being equitable in our distribution of funds, and ultimately that we're held accountable to our decisions to make improvements in our facilities, in our curriculum, and in our resources.
Thank you. The Alabama State Department of Education scored Pell City Schools an 80 in 2022, an 81 in 2023, and an 83 in 2024. What are your thoughts on this trend and the trajectory of our school system overall?
Yes, ma'am. So I think, I mean, a positive trend, you know, on the surface is always good. You know, moving some of those scores, even 1 point, you know, takes phenomenal work. So I think it shows that some of the processes that have been implemented are yielding results. Not trying to be negative, but when you look at the broader impact of those scores, you know, other schools are also trying to move their needle. And the state of Alabama grew 2 points also for their average during that time. So while we're advancing, I'm concerned that we're just keeping pace. You know, and if you look at our surrounding communities in St. Clair County, some of them are outperforming us. You know, so I think we have an opportunity not only to keep pace, but we have to accelerate rapidly. Our kids deserve the best, our faculty, our staff, and our community. And I think that we can achieve that. Looking at deeper into our schools, though, that score is an aggregate of all of our elementaries, our intermediate school, high school, and when you look into the individual scores and particularly their trends over the last few years, you know, you can see which schools are performing well and what areas they're performing well in, and which schools are flat or are very labile in their scores. And so I think there's opportunity to use that data to take our approaches in stabilizing that and building particularly our elementary schools and preparing for the future. You know, if those scores are valid, then we need to make sure that the future students have the tools and the foundation to succeed in those standardized tests.
Are there any additional questions, follow-up questions from the committee?
You said keeping good teachers. It's not necessarily about the pay, it's about the culture. What kind of culture are you talking about? What culture attracts and keeps teachers?
In my opinion, what keeps people there is a stable work environment, work-life balance, to know that they have a voice in their day-to-day lives and in policy, that they have a conduit for information, and that they have administrative support for the barriers that they face.
Do you think we're doing enough now in that category, or is it something you want to really promote?
I think overall, my perception would be that we need to garner trust with our teams. I do feel that in certain areas, our community and our schools may be fragmented, you know, that we support one academic function or one athletic function, and really we need to be pulled together to support the entire student body. So I think we need to eliminate that, make sure that we're pushing forward equitable education and programs. And I think, again, removing barriers and providing a conduit and establishing trust I think is key to retaining staff.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any follow-up questions? Okay. How important is long-term strategic planning for a school system? In what key areas should Pell City Schools prioritize such a plan?
Well, I think a strategic plan is of the utmost importance. Some companies will do a strategic plan and put it in a binder and put it on a shelf and dust it off every 3 years when they have to amend it. But it really should be a living process. And I think the importance of a strategic plan is so that the administrative team and the board members can evaluate their decisions and weigh it against that strategic plan. This is our plan, and how are the decisions we're making helping us achieve that goal? Some of the strategic planning initiatives I think that are important is, we're in an unparalleled level of growth here in our community. We've got not only the city limits, but in our service attendance zone. We've got restaurants coming that'll attract businesses, industry, homeowners who have children. And so we have several schools, but what is our long-term plan for either consolidating or ensuring that we have the capacity to meet that growing community needs?
What are your thoughts on the Pell City School System's curriculum's current structure? How should this district's curriculum balance college prep classes with vocational and life skills?
Well, I think our school's doing very well on college and career prep. If you look at their 2024 scores, it was one of the highest that they've had in the past. And we've got great counselors who the students are meeting with that are guiding them towards their post-high school years, whether it be military, technical fields, PCT program. We've partnered with Jeff State, we've partnered with local industries to meet their needs. So I think from that perspective, we've grown leaps and bounds in preparing these kids. I would say one of the gaps though is are we marketing it correctly? Does every child have an opportunity and know about the programs that we have? Are they getting in front of the counselor early on through, the school has meetings in between, your 8th and 9th grade year, your 9th and 10th grade year. Are we really marketing participation in that to set the future course of their student? Are they accessible? And if not, what barriers do they have? Ultimately, I think from a curriculum standpoint, and I'll tell you, I'm not an educator, and I've never created curriculum. I'd have to defer to our experts. I know that we have 2 curriculum coordinators for our school system. I would have to take their input, but I guess anecdotally from what I see is, how are we teaching life skills? Is there an opportunity to incorporate life skills into our curriculum? Personal finance, time management. I don't want to share my age, but I was a graduate of home economics back in the day. And I learned quite a bit of information in that. And I think that's something that our children can learn from. We have such technologies as AI that is revolutionizing so many industries, and they need to know how to do that, but they also need to know about interest rates and loan opportunities and things of that nature. So I think there's opportunities to balance technology with just fundamentals.
Thank you. How should the Board of Education effectively communicate with parents and the community? What steps would you take to establish and maintain trust in the board?
I think one of the first steps that we would need to do is build that trust again with our teachers, our administrators, and our staff. I think that the biggest promoters of our school system should be the employees of the school system. If they are satisfied with the current atmosphere, if they're satisfied with the culture, if they're satisfied with their voice in the system, they're your advocates going out and talking to their neighbor, their family members, their churchgoers, and that garners a lot of support. From a community perspective, I really would like to see more participation in some of our school board meetings. A lot of comments about school activities, and I encourage others to come out and get educated as well. I do think that we should have opportunities at our school board meetings for broader communication. Many of our surrounding communities videotape or live stream the board meetings so that those who can attend can watch it later and hear for themselves. I've seen lots of different ways to engage the community at board meetings, obviously from an open mic session to even something using technology where there's a QR code and members in the audience can scan that QR code, ask their question, and a moderator aggregates those questions and presents it to the board. So I think there's opportunity to promote that, and transparency, I think, is a common theme. One of the things I'd also like to promote is we have so many tools of communication about our upcoming board meetings, about our upcoming public interviews. I would like to see that utilized for a lot more. There are times when I have not been made aware of a call board meeting or something happening in the community, but I'm active on so many platforms. So I think there's opportunity to be more transparent and engage the community with the activities of the school system and the board.
Okay. What is your perception of our school district's current working and learning environment? Do you have ideas on how to ensure and maintain a positive environment?
I think I've touched on that a little bit. I think the current environment is, from our scores, we're improving. I think the current environment is, at a precipice. We have, soon to have an appointed board. We're soon to have greater support of the city. Soon to have a new superintendent. So there are a lot of things that could significantly change that atmosphere for for better or for worse. But I can only imagine benefits from the direction that we're heading. But I think we have a lot of good things in our system. I know we have dedicated teachers. I know we have dedicated coaches that are not only motivated to win on the field, but they push their students to perform in the classroom and assist teachers with disciplinary actions if there's things going on in the classroom. So I think we have a good core of staff. But again, from the environment, I think if we don't establish rapport and relationships with the community and with our staff, I think that opens us up to a trajectory that we just can't maintain.
Thank you. I think you have about 30 seconds to give us a closing statement.
Okay. Closing statement. Well, first, thank you so much for this opportunity and for allowing me just to get up here and converse with you guys. I get leadership tips from many different sources. I'll speak to a quote from a often not cited philosopher of the 20th century, the martial artist Bruce Lee. He said, "Be like water." And by that statement, he meant that, water is fluid, it's adaptive, it conforms, it's not assertive, but it's ever present. And like water, with a little pressure consistently applied, you can move mountains. And I think that's where we're at today.
Mr. Epperson, thank you so much for your time and your dedication to Pell City Schools. At this time, this concludes your interview. Thank you so much.